Welcome to OneUnderPodcast. I'm your host Adon and my co-host.
Lucy.
And today we're gonna talk about a beautiful topic in regards to relationship and couples. We're gonna talk about communication between couples, and we're gonna start with
Listening to understand and not just to reply.
elaborate, Lucy, on that note.
So, lots of times when we are having a conversation with someone, we're not really listening to understand what they're saying. We are just waiting to see what kind of answer we need to give to what they're saying. But sometimes when you're having a conversation with someone, sometimes all they want to be is heard. You might not have a solution for that problem that they're facing at the moment, but you do have an ear to listen. I think that some couples get their lines crossed when it could be the male speaking to the female to the male, and thinking that what they want from you is a solution to this thing that they're posing for you, but actually all they want you to do is listen, because at the moment they just frustrated and they just need to vent. So listen to understand and not just to reply.
Yeah, and the other thing is like everybody, both parties are hot in terms of issues, whatever the issues might be. I believe that one of the best way to fix the situation, whatever the situation might be, is just take a walk and cool off. Because if you hot and I'm hot, a reaction always come with an action always come with a reaction. And if somebody speak loud, the next person's gonna do the same. And at the end of the day, nobody gonna get to the point to resolve any of the issues that they might be going through. One of the other things could be building and understand that there are some things that you might not agree, and that's okay to respect. So
Yeah, I think that with that statement there, when you can elaborate that in a way that's saying that just because we are a couple doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. And I think that a lot of people think that you have to agree on everything just because, that's been my boyfriend for so many years and we know each other so well and we finish each other's sentences. But that's not a realistic expectation. A realistic expectation should be mutual respect, that and have enough respect to disagree on things, and pick your battles. Know which things are a battle, which things, okay, we have to come to an agreement to this issue, whether it be something as big as disciplining your kids, or something as small as where we should buy our groceries from. I think that, and that it goes into the next topic of making your decisions together. So having mutual respect will lead to the understanding that major big decisions need to be made together. Right, Adam?
I believe so because sometimes you see that one of the issue with a lot of couples is that sometimes they tend to hide stuff from each other. Especially, I seen that when it comes to making decisions together, I see how people they been married for such a long time, and you still hear people that have like different bank account when it's supposed to be one account for the family, especially if they been married for such a long time. So I think that making decisions together bring a lot of peace in between because it also shows that mutual respect between couples um, could lead to better things when it comes to purchasing, buying, to acquire any um, property or anything in regard.
I think that the big issue with that, with the financial fear that the society has built on, because I literally just heard it the other day, that women need to be financially independent. Okay, you can be financially independent, but it doesn't mean that you don't trust your partner enough to have a joint account, have your money together. It's our money. We are a couple. You're not one and one, you're two. You're together. You paying your bills together. So like you said, people making decisions. We have heard even amongst people we know closely, oh yeah, she pays the rent and I pay the electric. and the water. I'm like, I don't get that. So what happens when she can't pay the rent? Does she get kicked out? She's not a roommate. This is your spouse, your partner, whatever the case may be. That's looking at things like we made the decision to be together, but we didn't decide to put our finances together. And then that branches off into every other aspect of the relationship.
In some point, I think that that's some sort of fear or insecurity from people because how come you could share a bed, you could share a room, you could share a house, a roof with someone that you not even trust to have a bank account together, especially the way things are right now. You see how everybody want to be independent, and I know and I understand that in America the society is pretty much like an individual. Everybody is on their own and everybody want to do things by their own, but at the same time when you have a relationship, when you in between or when you marry, it's different because even the Bible says like that. You know, you're not two people no more. You become one flesh. So that makes that's what I think that people in a way they scare, they afraid of what if something happened in the future or anything like that because we see multiple times, we see on the news, we see on the media how people get separated, and the first things that come into mind or in between is whatever they have, whether it's money, property, whether it's investment or anything like that. But when when you make decisions together and when you have everything merge into one, even though you might be two, it makes things better and it makes you feel some sort of secure at the same time.
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Last year or some years ago, I was making a purchase, and one of my children came over to me and said, "Well, why do you have to discuss that with dad? That's just like $30." And I explained to her, the point is not how much money I'm spending. The point is to communicate. So we don't, one of us here doesn't go off budget or like, listen, that money was set aside for this or that was supposed to be saving. And here, and it starts with the little things. It starts with the little things because if you are concerned enough to talk about a small purchase, then when it comes to a big purchase, you already have that mutual respect of, oh, you know what? She shared that with me, or she made the point to make me aware that she's making this purchase. So it's not like you're asking permission either. She's making me aware that she's making this purchase. So before I make this huge purchase, let's discuss it together. That's exactly to the point of making decisions together. And I think that when it comes to many different industries, mostly what you discuss here on One Under, you're not necessarily going to come home and talk about work or things that you saw on the job that day, but you still want to talk, you still want to communicate and get your point across and just have communication between both of you, whether it be at the topic of kids or where do we want to eat. So I think that all is one in the same of mutual respect.
One of the other things that I see is like sometimes people make mistake. Everybody make mistake. As a human being, whether you try, whether you don't, you always gonna make mistake. And one of the things that happen a lot with couples when it comes to communication and decisions together is that when you make a mistake, they don't usually delete that or forget about that right away. They normally, um, for some reason, want to bring that up into other conversation or into other um, issues that might be happening at the time, and that's bring us to one of the points that we have in when it comes to communication between couple, which is
Don't bring old disagreements that have already been discussed. So, for example, just to throw something out there. Last month you spent $500 on shoes. We talked about it. You made that large purchase, and we had both decided that we wouldn't be spending money on apparel or footwear until next month. But you went and did it. Okay, you hashed it out. You had the argument because you were at that point both hot, like Aiden was saying, like Adon was saying, you were at that point where you both were hot. You did have that argument. Okay, things cooled off, things leveled off. You went and calmly talked about it. Whoever made the purchase apologized. Yeah, you're right. Now that we're both cooled off, that was my bad. Okay, I did it wrong. So now you're past that point, right? You put that aside and it's forgiven. You discussed it, you apologized, you acknowledged. Come around 2 months later and you go and do something maybe not exactly the same, but similar, right? So you went and purchased software that you did need, but again, it wasn't in the budget that you just made and you discussed. So now what happens is that, like Adon was saying, this person brings that issue up. Didn't we just discuss this? You went and bought shoes that were $500. Okay, that's the main problem right there that you're talking about, right? You discussed it, you bought the shoes, we went over it, and now we're having a discussion with a different, although similar issue. I'm not saying you forget, we're not a machine, you can't delete the hard drive, but you don't need to rehash something that you've already discussed, acknowledged, and forgave that person for.
Yep. And I think to resume or to bring the case in point when it comes to communication or between couple, the better you guys communicate, the better things gonna go, and the better things gonna flow. I think that that's the key point of everything. Communication. Nothing's gonna fail if you marry or if you engage or if you already have your significant others or your partner, however you want to call it. If there is communication, nothing's gonna come in between because that's the main point and that's the main key. If you want to be successful in your relationship, always try to have good communication and not hiding anything from each other. That's set for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying tuned. Stay tuned for more One Under.